Hey everyone and welcome to Storytime. My name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at the subreddit r/idontworkherelady. So sit back, relax and enjoy some Reddit stories. Don't you know who we are? I had already switched from chef work to sommelier work, having left my first big sommelier job to take over as a head sommelier/executive manager of a restaurant group. The city I lived in was the capital, lots of embassies and lots of politicians, so the high-end restaurants would often get large parties of politicians and ambassadors. Because of this sort of clientele, we had very high-end wine lists at all of our restaurants, but not all of them were super expensive food-wise, and our house wine was very affordable. Also had lots of good wine by the glass. This made some of our locations very popular as a lunch spot for servers who worked in the area. One cloudy day, I was sitting in a corner banquet, just doing paperwork, enjoying some moussaka roll-ups, like eggplant parmigiana, but almost rolled up and with mashed potato inside, as well as the cheese, tomato, and herbs. This was a speciality for the Greek meze restaurant. The server on duty was pretty busy. She was new and didn't know me. I knew her though. She was doing alright serving everyone without too much problem. No one was waiting more than a few minutes to get attention. There was also a server from the restaurant across the street, not part of my group but a regular, sitting and having a glass of house wine as she was organizing her tips from her shift. She looked like a server in blacks with a black short apron, similar uniform to what was worn in our restaurant. In walks a bunch of people, group of 6. I recognized one of them as an ambassador's aide, didn't recognize the others, 4 guys and 2 women, one of whom had the classic Karen hairdo. They don't wait at the front where the sign says to wait to be seated. They walk right into the dining room, push 2 tables together, and grab extra chairs. They're sitting sprawling, taking up lots of room in the middle of the dining room, talking loudly about how this place has a great wine list. One of them says he's gonna order. They have now been in the restaurant for less than 2 minutes total. The server on duty can't see them from the corner where they do their side duties. She had been in the back serving the VIP room. At this point, the group are already starting to complain that they haven't been served yet, which is when they notice the server from the other side of the restaurant who is just enjoying her glass of wine. The ambassador's aide, substantially louder than it needed to be. "Hey, you can't drink on the job. Why haven't you taken our order yet?" The Karen hairdo, not at all under her breath. "I can't believe how unprofessional that girl is." Then to the girl, "We'll have you fired for this. Do you know who we are?" "This is an outrage." Not our server girl. "Oh, sorry, I don't work here. I work at a different restaurant. I'm sure a server will be here to take your order soon." "Don't you give us that BS, you lazy, good-for-nothing." At this point, I'm already not liking where this is going, but I decide to just wait a minute to see how the new server handles it. She has arrived with her customer service smile plastered across her face. The actual server. "Pardon me, I'm Mandy, and will be your server for the day. Can I take your order?" Finally! We've been waiting here for 20 minutes, maybe 3 tops, with no service. And your colleague here didn't even get up to greet us. She's just getting drunk. You can't drink on the clock. Directed with malice at the innocent server girl from another restaurant. "You need to fire her right now. I demand to speak to your manager. Do you even know who I am? I work for the consulate. I could have both of your jobs for this." It was at this point I finally recognized the lady. She was a receptionist for the consulate where she worked. I had seen her a year and a bit prior when she came in with a large group for their office Christmas party. I could have stepped in at this point, but I was curious how the new server, Mandy, would handle this. Mandy in an apologetic tone. "I'm so sorry, but I didn't see you arrive. Normally people wait to be seated as the sign asks, so I couldn't see you all sitting here. Please don't badger our guests though. That lady doesn't work here and is a paying customer. I believe she works at another restaurant down the street. The Karen hairdo cuts her off. "Don't you dare lie to me, you little I eat liars like you for breakfast." Rest of the 6 are egging Karen hairdo on at this point, and I can see this may be escalating beyond what the server can handle. So I text the owner's son who lives upstairs. He's also a part owner in the group and sometimes does the managing of this location. Happens to also be a bodybuilder and is huge. Less than 30 seconds later, I get a "be right there" text from the owner's son. Karen hairdo yelling in a shrill, indignant voice, "Where is your manager? Get him now! You can't treat us like this. We are important people." Mandy was starting to look like she was gonna cry at this point, and the Not Our server is shrinking back into the banquet as both of them were being yelled at incoherently by this group of 6 rude flunkies. At this point, the assistant floor manager has arrived due to the screeching, but the 6 insane screechers are just ignoring her. I stand, take a couple of steps toward them, take a deep breath at the top of my lungs, and shout, "Quiet now!" I was an actor in high school and know how to project, so my voice fills the room. Everyone stops their shouting and turns to me. Me, at a more reasonable voice level, "Okay, so here's what's going to happen. None of you need to speak to a manager. What you need to do is grab your stuff and get out. I won't have you shouting at my server or my guests. No one deserves to be talked to the way you have been. And before you indignantly ask me if I know who you are, I do. I know exactly who you are. And I know your boss. And your boss's boss. Both of whom love eating here, and would be appalled at your behaviour." At this point, I notice Matthew, the owner's son, has just come in through the kitchen door, dressed in his gym gear, glistening with sweat like some sort of Greek statue of Hercules. 6'4" and nearly 300 pounds of muscle. The look on his face just screams, "I just got here and I'm already completely done with this." I can see Karen hairdo is about to protest, but I hold up my hand, and in my no-nonsense commanding voice, "No, this is not a discussion. Get up and go now." Karen hairdo in an injured, indignant tone, "Well, I never." Me, matter-of-factly, "And you never will again. You can consider yourselves banned from this establishment." Matthew, owner's son, part owner, rather loudly than he needed to be, "Get out of my restaurant, and don't even think of coming back. You're all going on the blacklist." Matthew's colossal form starts moving towards them, and it seems the look on his face was enough to end any further discussion, as the group grab their things and rush out of the restaurant. I thank Matt for coming down and interrupting his workout for the assist. The manager comps the Not Our server's meal and wine for her marred experience. Our server is told that she did nothing wrong, that it's okay, she's not in any danger of being fired, and in fact handled it about as well as she could have. She is given the rest of day off with pay. The group each have a headshot pulled from security cams and are added to our digital blacklist. But it doesn't end there. I call the consulate and talk with the ambassador, who is appalled by the behaviour of his staff, all of whom arrive back at the consulate that day to find they have been fired for attempting to use their job to bully others. He comes in personally the next week to apologise to our server, manager and the owner's son in person, and assure us that the group no longer work at the consulate. Moral of the story: never use your position of perceived power to bully others. You may well end up losing that position. I'm sorry, but using your power or even perceived power to think you're better than someone is like the most cringy thing I can think of. If you've got a lot of power and you're a nice person, you're gonna get a lot more respect than if you've got a lot of power and you say, "Oh, do you know who I am?" You're like, "Yeah." Are you sure you recognize me, ma'am? I'll start by saying at this point in my life, I was a very noticeable / recognizable person. I had mint green and bright blue hair that I was maintaining extremely well because I was a receptionist at a very large business. I just recently got an apartment with my boyfriend that was much closer to my work and decided to stop by Walmart on my way home to pick up something to cook for dinner. I'm standing in the frozen food department trying to decide what option is less likely to give me heart disease when roughly the following conversation happens. Enter, probably Karen, no child in sight, spotting me in the aisle. My son broke a bottle in the next aisle. Can you get someone to clean it up? I'm wearing black pants and a black polo. I clearly do not work here. I just assume at this point she can't find anyone and wants my help. I think there's someone over in self-checkout who can help. I'm sorry, I just really need to get home. Broken glass is a hazard to my son. I need this cleaned up immediately. Wait, so you left him there? I knew you were over here. I'm not going to move my cart when I still need stuff from the aisle. I just don't want him getting cut or getting his shoes sticky. Now, find someone to clean it up. Okay, I'll guess I'll go tell them there's an unattended child breaking glass in one of the aisles. As I walk away, I can hear probably Karen say something like, "Excuse me," but I've already grabbed my food and I'm heading to the self-checkout anyway. Before I can even get my food set down on the machine, I could hear the loud clack of flip-flops and probably Karen's continued, "Excuse me's." She now arrives to the self-checkout center, child in tow, face red from anger. She informs Kiosk Lady that I was making rude remarks about her parenting, harassing her, and refusing to help. Kiosk Lady looks at me confused, clearly realizing I don't work there, and says there's not much she can do, other than get a manager who could ask me to leave. Probably Karen looks thrilled at this news and requests it immediately. I, at this point, am finished purchasing and ask if I can just go because I'm done shopping and need to get home. Probably Karen cuts in with, "You can't go unless they dismiss you." Me, finally realizing what is going on, tries to clear up the situation. I don't actually work here. Sorry about the confusion, but I really just want to leave and get home. I know you work here. I've seen you a dozen times. I don't care who covers for you. You won't lie your way out of this. Are you sure you recognize me, ma'am? Of course I recognize you. How could anyone forget that loud, tacky hair? At this point, probably Karen has attracted not only the attention of the manager, but the security guard by the front door. I'm not thrilled from the comment about my hair, so despite my best judgment, I decide to tell her exactly where I worked. I'm the receptionist at a green plant dispensary. Are you sure that's not where you've seen me? As I flipped my hair off my shoulder to reveal the store's logo, I'm pretty sure her face became a new shade of red that had gone unseen up until then. Can you just imagine the Karen like curling up into a puddle of embarrassment? Oh, that seems so good. No, I cannot reserve a table for you. Backstory: I work for a non-urgent ambulance service. Think not immediately life-threatening, but patient needs an ambulance to get to a hospital. As such, we have a shortened number in my country. Think if 911 is urgent medical care, we're 011 or something like that. I'm not in the US, don't know if there's an actual equivalent. The problem is, a lot of companies use press 0 to get to an outside line. In most cases, people accept it's a misdial, but some keep arguing. This one seems posting, even though I only got in at the end. People involved: the caller, who we'll call John, my co-worker, who we'll call Jeff, me, and the restaurant owner Jim. Telephone ringing. Welcome to ambulance service. How may I help you? Hi John, it's Jim here. I'd like to reserve my usual table for 4 next Saturday if that's possible. I'm sorry sir, I think you have a wrong number. You've arrived at ambulance services. Do you need medical assistance? Haha, not unless you've really gone downhill. Just my usual table at the window please. Sorry sir, you've called ambulance services. I think you may have the wrong number. Stop fooling around Jim, I can hear it's you. I assume I'm okay for my table for 4 on Saturday. Really sir, I work at ambulance services. Unless you need medical assistance, I cannot help you. Yeah, right, Jim. I'll see you on Saturday. Really, you have a wrong number, sir. And then he hung up. Co-worker looks over at me and tells me about the call, wondering if we should call back telling him his reservation is not okay. We got interrupted by real calls. A bit later, the telephone is ringing again. Welcome to ambulance services. How may I help you? I'm not at restaurant Golden Spoon? No, sir. You've reached ambulance services. Do you need an ambulance, sir? I was talking to Jim before about my table on Saturday. I think you have the wrong number, sir. You've called the ambulance service. We do not have anyone working here called Jim. No, I called to reserve a table. I think you have a wrong number, sir. You'll have to call the restaurant for that. So am I okay for my table on Saturday? I don't know, sir. You need to call the restaurant for that. He then hung up. Turns out the caller later did call back again to our boss to apologize. In my country, you can get a hefty fine for prank calls to emergency numbers, which we are a part of, even though we're non-urgent. Apparently, he said Jeff sounds just like Jim, who's known to pull pranks on his friends. I don't know if he ever got his table. Not the best story here, but it gave me and Jeff a chuckle, and we definitely don't work for a restaurant. Neither of us have since we were students. I wonder if he ever got his table. Hey everyone, I hope you all had a really good day and that you enjoyed that video. If you want to check out some other videos, then click on screen right now, or check out the playlist down below. If you enjoyed that video, then please do leave a like, and if you want to submit your own stories, then you can do so by joining the Discord in the top link in the description. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon.